Amrit, great to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Jared. Pleasure to be here.
Let's uh let's dive in. First, I kind of like to always ask, you're wearing if you were wearing a SaxeCap sweatshirt and we're at a conference, someone goes, "What is SaxeCap?" What do you tell them?
Yeah, SaxeCap is the world's first AI native private equity fund. I founded the firm back in January of 2019, and the thesis was go and do what PE funds have done for 60 plus years in leverage buyouts, but add to the standard private equity value creation playbook this concept of AI and automation driven value creation portfolio companies. So the way to think about SaxeCap is kind of like if a private equity fund and a firm like Palantir had a baby. Essentially, what we do is we buy out companies that typically don't have a lot of technology, and then we have a team of about 40 engineers and data scientists internally, and we essentially help build and deploy bespoke company-specific automation AI technologies at those companies to make them more profitable. We've been at this for almost 6 years. We've transformed over 60 companies in a wide variety of sectors, and it's been a lot of fun.
What's typically your sweet spot? Like, is there for sector and then company size?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have two strategies at SaxeCap. One is we go and buy our own businesses on a standalone basis. And typically when we do that, we will buy out businesses that range from, call it 150 million to 300 million in enterprise value. And then our second strategy is we actually are the go-to partner for about 40 large PE funds globally for all things AI and automation transformation. Many of the largest firms in the industry. And with those firms, we'll co-invest with them into companies that we can help drive value at with AI and automation. And that allows us to massively expand our range. So, the low end of that thesis will be about 300 million of enterprise value. The high end will be, 10 billion plus. So there's a fair bit of flexibility across our two motions. And in terms of sector focuses, we work across a wide range of sectors, but the ones where we see an especially large amount of value creation potential today are sectors like business services, financial services, healthcare services. We've done a lot in education, so still pretty broad mandate, but we tend to touch businesses that have a lot of knowledge work, a lot of proprietary data and distribution assets and advantages.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on a little bit different, right? But you
Yeah,
see, the hottest trend right now that I've been seeing is all these social influencers posting about
yeah.
how they're buying all these businesses and they're creating these holdcos and here's what they're. I honestly don't think many of them are actually doing it right. The thing over the last few years has always been people just posting about what they're doing. You're doing real stuff here.
Yeah.
So like, what do you think though about some of these smaller scale than what you're doing, obviously, but
Yeah.
like would be very curious. Do you still see the potential, obviously, for AI to also transform those, like let's call them mom and pop type
Yeah.
small businesses?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Look, the holdco model is a really good one. And I think ultimately there's value to be created with AI in almost any sector across almost any enterprise value range. Ultimately, it's a lot of hard work to buy a business and transform a business. So while posting about these things is great, the devil's really in the executional details. I'm confident that many of these holdco models will be successful. I think when you're buying out or investing in very small businesses, it becomes a tad bit more challenging to really drive transformative value creation with technologies like AI because typically you need some kind of scale in terms of operations, data, et cetera, to really drive value. But no, I'm a big believer. I'm also a very active angel investor in the space. I've invested in over 400 early stage and growth stage companies over the past decade, including a lot of AI companies and some holdco models. So I'm a believer in the thesis.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if a business is doing 150,000, 200,000 in net income, which
Right.
for someone, the business owner, that could be a great business, right? But how much more can you necessarily get out of it just with AI in those situations? So what you're doing, like let's focus back on that. So
Yeah.
what led you to want to focus on these basically this AI transformation in your space? And I always like to ask this, but why do you think our listeners should be especially excited about what you do?
Yeah, look, AI and generative AI in particular, I'm a little biased because my entire career has been in AI. I studied AI undergrad and grad back in college, and then before starting this business, I started two other AI companies. So I've been at this for the better part of 14 or 15 years now, and I love the space. But my belief is that AI is a generational tectonic shift in the art of the possible in terms of enterprise value creation potential. And when you map out essentially the large shifts technologically over the course of the past 100 odd years, I really think there have been three seminal changes in technology or things to get really excited about. I think the first real innovation was the microchip in the 1940s, which brought the marginal cost of computation down to zero. Then in the 1980s, you had the internet, which brought the marginal cost of distribution down to zero. And we both know how much value those two paradigm shifts have driven for the world. My view is that we're not even in the first inning of AI yet, but when this plays out, AI and generative AI in particular will bring the marginal cost of creation down to zero. And if and when that happens, that will create an enterprise value creation opportunity unlike any that the world has seen, industrial revolution included, from my perspective. Because when you look at the global GDP, creation is a lot larger component of our global GDP than distribution, computation ever were. So as a result, I think this thesis, while I started this very early, well before it was obvious that the world was going to move this quickly with generative AI, I'd been very excited about the opportunity to deploy automation, machine learning, optimization algorithms to go drive tremendous business value. But there's been a huge unlock with these state-of-the-art large language models, multimodal generative AI models. So a lot of reasons to be excited for your listeners.
I've been starting to talk to people and I'm like, it feels like we're kind of in our sci-fi like era right now because basically if you can dream it up, right? Even as far-fetched as something seems with how quickly AI is progressing, it could be very possible, right? 6, 12, like 24 months out. Just to see where we've come, just talking on a consumer basis, right? Like most people's introduction was ChatGPT, and just seeing where even that has come on a basic level, right? From where it was last year to a couple of months ago, it's incredible how this keeps progressing. What AI, I guess, even outside of your business, what AI practical applications are you especially kind of bullish on?
Yeah, there are a ton. There are a ton in the generative AI domain. There's still a lot. There's still a lot of uncaptured opportunity in more traditional deployments of AI, machine learning, operations, research, optimization, so on and so forth. But if we're really to focus on generative AI, which has captured everyone's attention and really feels sci-fi to the average consumer today, the use cases that we found a lot of success with broadly fall in two buckets. The first bucket is leveraging generative AI to go and augment human capital in essentially tasks involving data extraction, information synthesis, simple stakeholder communications. So that is everything from going and augmenting what our HR advisors do at one of the PEO businesses that we own, essentially helping answer employee questions around healthcare benefits plans or how they onboard onto payroll or access their HRIS system, a lot of which was very human capital intensive before, but now can be largely augmented with these technologies to things that are, very applicable to every company, or typically surrounding leveraging generative AI algorithms and tools and augmenting customer service activities and going and augmenting and automating work in the back office across FP&A, across core operational tasks. So I'd say the first bucket is general human capital augmentation of these knowledge work intensive workflows. The second application that we've had a lot of success with is when you take a step back and you look at how people are building value in the generative AI economy, really most companies are building on a set of three foundation models, whether it be OpenAI's GPT model family, or it be Anthropic's cloud model family, or Meta's Llama model family, which is open source. And then, if everyone's leveraging these same models to go and drive innovation, you need to think to yourself, where will enduring value creation come from? And our thesis is that enduring value creation, at least in the short to medium term, may come from companies that have proprietary data assets that nobody has, where you can go and fine tune models or leverage that data in the context of the operations and execution of your generative AI models, or businesses that have deep customer relationships, distribution advantages that maybe new players, new startups don't enjoy on day one. So the other vignette of value creation that has been incredible for our portfolio companies, because these are incumbents that have been around for a long time, is going and building net new Gen AI driven products and services on top of our data and distribution advantages and taking them to market to our customers and monetizing them. So those are the two buckets so far. But there's a lot coming out, right? That I think we're not even scratching the tip of the iceberg today. When you look at OpenAI's latest model family, the strawberry model or the 401 model, and it sheds light into a new paradigm where you can leverage reinforcement learning on top of generative AI foundation models to go and perform complex reasoning tasks. Then when you look at other portfolio companies of ours, companies like the humanoid robotics companies like Figure, you're starting to see humanoid robots being built that don't need any custom tuning or training for individual problem sets and can interpret their environment like humans do and execute a large percentage of the tasks that we can execute physically. So there's a lot coming up to be excited about.
Now, when most organizations think AI adoption, they also realize there is some challenges that still come with it, right? It's not you just implement it, you're off to the races. So what are some of the biggest hurdles you've encountered with some of your portfolio companies to implement AI solutions, and really how have they successfully overcome those challenges?
Yeah, it's a really good question. There are a few classes of challenges that you experience with driving AI transformations of enterprises. The first challenge is, of course, having the technological ability to build these systems. That has been made easier in the era of generative AI relative to machine learning, for example, because now you need far less data science expertise. You can go a lot faster. It's a lot cheaper to build these types of tools and solutions. The second challenge that you experience pretty consistently is many of the businesses that can benefit the most from AI and related technologies may be the businesses that have the least technological innovation or progression historically, wherein it's not really a core part of the muscle or the DNA of the organization to ingest technology. And in those cases, you really need to build these technologies empathetically and in partnership with your end users. And really co-develop solutions that they feel bought into from day one, such that when you build something great, they're actually excited to use it, and it's not something that's just being thrust upon them. So I think part of this is a science, but the far more important part is the art of actually getting buy-in, solving real problems, building user trust, and being empathetic.
Now, on the flip side, what are you seeing as far as, and you don't need to give us all of them, right? Because some of these are probably why someone should want to work with you in the first place, right? But what are some of the untapped opportunities you see for these businesses to leverage AI more in their operations?
Yeah, the sky's the limit right now with how rapidly this field is progressing. It feels like almost every day there's some incredible new model or AI product that comes out that could be used creatively to drive enterprise value for any company, regardless of their AI sophistication. But I would say the way to approach value creation with AI, much like any other innovation, is to approach it with a crawl, walk, run model. So when you think about, what do you not need a firm like SaxeCap for? Like, what can you just go and do, regardless of your internal technological aptitude or AI aptitude? I would say table stakes is just starting with using great off-the-shelf AI tools and making them part of your process, right? So when you think about knowledge work at your business, whether it's marketing or advertising, folks on your sales teams, folks in operations, essentially going through their workflows and seeing if they can be augmented with off the shelf AI chatbots like a Claude or a ChatGPT. And if so, figuring out what those tactical use cases are, onboarding the right users, and getting it to be a part of their process to go and drive value creation. Relatedly, if you have an organization that has a lot of technical talent, whether it's engineers or folks in IT, data scientists, and you're not using a generative AI coding assistant or copilot, like a GitHub Copilot, that may be worth investigating and seeing, am I leaving very low-hanging fruit value creation potential on the table? And beyond just buying the software and giving people access to the tools, I think it's really important to train them up and make sure that it's actually being used productively, because these tools are so powerful, but they're also pretty intimidating if you've never used them before, right? And it's not your forte. So I'd say that that's kind of step one. There are very simple things that you can do to go make your employees a lot more productive with just these simple tools. And everyone at our firm uses all of the above and many more to go and increase our own productivity. And then beyond that, as you start to get organizational buy-in and momentum with this kind of AI deployment, then you can essentially look to what are more complex tasks that our human capital is doing today that involves taking data out of some system, analyzing it, processing it, putting it somewhere else, responding to a customer. And then you can start to build essentially simple, whether they're agentic workflows or just Gen AI driven augmentations and automations that can be deployed kind of like RPA used to be deployed into individual components of your processes to go drive value. And then, of course, for more complex things, you can work with a partner, whether that's SaxeCap or someone else in the ecosystem.
Now, let's, if you don't mind, like one of the things I'd love to talk quickly about is what could a 90-day AI plan look like for an organization to start implementing it? So I
Yeah.
guess how should they approach the early stages and then set themselves up for long-term success?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jared. And that's exactly how we approach our AI transformations at SaxeCap. The way that we do it is we essentially in private equity, you typically have a 100-day plan when you buy a business, not too dissimilar from a 90-day roadmap. But we typically have a three-step process to go run these end-to-end AI transformations. The first step in the process tends to be a 30-day sprint where we will essentially go through all the company's, operations, data systems, financials, and form initially outside-in hypotheses on where we think there's the most value creation potential with the AI and related technologies of the business. Then what we'll do over the course of the first 14 days is we'll go and conduct a series of targeted one-on-one stakeholder interviews in the domains where we think there's the most value creation potential. Individuals both on the management team and individual operators of the business that are doing the kinds of work that we think can be augmented with AI. In the case that a business is a software business, maybe also the product managers and people owning the product vision and strategy of the business. And then, over the course of, call it the next 2 weeks, we will go and collate our insights and then come back to the management team and say, hey, we've surveyed the entire company and we've identified 37 tactical opportunities to go expand EBITDA, to expand enterprise value with AI and automation. Here's the full list of those initiatives. And for each one, we'll go and essentially qualify this is the complexity. This is how much it costs to get done. This is any execution, whether it's technical or operational risk. And then this is the tactical EBITDA or enterprise value expansion estimate, the underlying assumptions, and the ROI to the business. And then from there, we will then go and down select a smaller set of those 37 initiatives, typically around 5, that we think are the most transformative and needle moving for a business, that will go and scope out in greater detail, exact timelines, project plans, roadmaps, et cetera. And then we will go into phase 2, where the management team will select a single initiative or a set of initiatives to start executing against. And typically what we try to do is over the course of the first, call it 90 or 100 days of starting to engage with the business, is not just build the strategy, but also go and build and deploy at least the first AI solution and actually be able to point to actual enterprise value or EBITDA expansion of the business. And then from there, you build enough momentum to go carry out the full AI transformation, call it over the next 9 to 18 months, depending on the complexity and opportunity size of the business.
I love that. I love how strategic the approach is. Now, here's the thing. This is your superpower. Most businesses would not be, wouldn't you? They would not be able to do. Of course, they're not going to be able to do what you do. But I think what you said in the beginning. There are ways that they can. I love how in-depth your approach is as far as interviewing all the key folks. Super interesting. As we wrap up here, I had one last question I wanted to ask you. So regarding HumanX conference,
Yeah.
what are you most looking forward to at this event? And how do you think events like these will contribute to the AI community moving forward?
Yeah, great questions. I mean, in terms of Human X, it's a great founding team, a great cast of speakers, and what I'm most looking forward to is, of course, seeing old friends, but also meeting people that are approaching the AI opportunity from a variety of different angles, right? I think you're able to create the most value when you bring a lot of different kinds of brains together in the same domain and bring that interdisciplinary expertise all together. So, whether it's AI researchers or AI entrepreneurs, AI investors, students of AI, I think there will be a lot of great information sharing that should lead to a lot of great ideas and future value creation potential. And more broadly, to your point, AI is very much a community. It's been a small community recently, given how nascent it is. But for the progression of the field and of mankind as a whole, it's very important that you bring together people pursuing the opportunity from a wide variety of lenses and axes to go and work together to build the future. So I think a conference like HumanX has a very important place in the future development of the space. So I'm very excited to attend.
Likewise, look forward to seeing you there. It should be a great event, and I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, talking AI with us here today, and telling us what you're working on, and wishing you all the best of luck. Super exciting. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jared. Can't wait to meet.